Who is the best player on Team USA? Who's the worst? In today's video, we're going to be ranking all of the Team USA players. Let's get into it. But before we get into the actual rankings, a couple of disclaimers. The first disclaimer, my rankings are only going to be based on the Team USA exhibition games, not on the overall resume of the player such as championships or MVPs, or not even on how they played in the NBA last season, only based on the 5 exhibition games that they just played. The second disclaimer, I'm not going to be including KD in my rankings because he didn't play any of the Team USA exhibition games. Second of all, I will not be including any of the garbage time players, only the players that played real minutes for Team USA. Okay, let's finally get into our first ranking, which is at number 11. I'm going to put Derek White. Derek White is the replacement player for Kawhi Leonard. Obviously, he didn't play the first couple of games, and he only averaged about 1.7 points per game across the remaining 3 games. He's a role player in the NBA. He's a role player on Team USA. He obviously is probably the worst on the team because we're comparing all-stars to him. But just because he's last in my rankings doesn't mean that he didn't play well. He provided the same usual good defense that he does for the Boston Celtics, and he also was an incredible role player with the assisting, the rebounding that he's so good at. Next up at number 10, I have Tyrese Haliburton. And for the longest time, he actually wasn't at this spot. I had another player at this spot, but he actually didn't play in the last exhibition game. Steve Kerr chose to go with Derek White over him, and he also really only averaged like 3 points per game across the 4 games that he did play, including not scoring in his last game. Additionally, I think there was only one game against Australia where he hit 2 clutch threes, but other than that, I didn't really feel the presence of Tyrese Haliburton, which makes sense because all these other players are a bit older, they're more experienced in the league. Tyrese just rose to stardom, so he's gonna have his time. Alright, next up at number 9, I have Jayson Tatum. Hear me out. He struggled mightily in Team USA exhibition play. He really only had a decent game in his last game, or last couple games. He averaged 6 points per game across all of it, and I didn't really feel like he had enough of good moments to put him higher than this. He turned over the ball a lot. He didn't really shoot the ball well. When he did score, it was driving to the basket, playing that bully ball Jayson Tatum game, but I don't know, he was mightily disappointing. And actually, Jayson Tatum was the player that I was talking about earlier that I had at number 10. He was so bad and he was struggling so much that I was going to put him only right above Derek White, even though Jayson Tatum he's such a good player, but he just was struggling so much. But then in his last couple games, he had these nice shifty and ones, good plays, so I put him a little bit higher than Tyrese because Tyrese didn't even play. Alright, at number 8, I have Devin Booker. He averaged 7 points per game. He was a starter for Team USA for a lot of the exhibition games, I think most of them, but I never really felt his presence. I mean, I guess he's a role player for this team. I mean, that's not a bad thing because obviously on a team this deep, some people have to be role players, sacrifice some of their shots, and Devin Booker is just the consequence of that. He didn't really shoot the ball that much. He didn't really get touches that much, but it doesn't mean he was a bad player. He still played well in his role. But I will say I was impressed by Devin Booker's defense. Against Germany especially, he was really hounding and giving a lot of effort on that defensive end, so I do want to say that he should get some credit on that side of the ball. Okay, at number 7, I have Bam Adebayo, and I am super excited, super impressed by the pairing between Bam and AD off the bench. That is just a wonderful matching, big-to-big pairing that I love to watch. But Bam averaged, I think, 8 points per game across the 5 games. He was really shooting the ball from 3, which was impressive because I didn't really think of him as that much of a 3-point shooter, which he isn't, but that really was his role for a lot of the games in Team USA exhibition play. And him and AD defensively was just amazing to watch. Loved it. Bam at number 7. At number 6, I have Jrue Holiday. And originally I didn't even have him this high because he wasn't really doing much in like the first 3 games, but then Steve Kerr started to start him for a lot of the games and he averaged 8 points per game. He had a lot of those like steady, let's calm this down, good buckets, especially getting started in the game when a lot of the time Team USA was down. So he was just steady. The Jrue that we know that just plays good defense is a really good role player. Alright, getting into the top 5, I have the MVP at number 5, Joel Embiid. And this is a little bit disappointing because you would expect Joel Embiid to be the MVP, to come out and show everyone that he was the best player in the NBA last year's season, and he only averaged 10 points per game. He had a lot of turnovers when he was double teamed. He kind of struggled offensively around the rim a little bit. I was a little bit disappointed in Joel Embiid just because his standard is so much higher, and that's what he should be holding himself to. Not to mention that when they did play against Serbia, Jokic looked better than him. I mean, there were plays where Jokic pulled the chair out from Embiid and Embiid struggled, and then there was times when they double teamed him, but Jokic was getting whatever he wanted at the rim. And now, yeah, Jokic was playing, like, he is the main player on Serbia, but it's not like he was getting all the touches. Like, there was shooters on Serbia that were getting a lot more touches than Jokic was, and he still found a way to make his presence known. But I felt like Joel Embiid was okay with being a role player at times. Alright, moving on, at number 4, I have AD, Anthony Davis. He was such a defensive monster that I just had to put him this high. He didn't even average that many points per game, like 11.8 points per game, which is still pretty high because that's in the top 4 on the team. He was just blocking everything in some of these games. I think especially against Serbia, South Sudan, he was blocking everything. But it was just incredible to watch. He reminded everyone that he is in the running for Defensive Player of the Year every single year because he's just such a beast on that end. But that being said, he wasn't bad offensively. He still had a really, really good offensive showing. He had a couple of and ones. He honestly was better than Bam or Embiid, I think, offensively. And that might be biased because he was so good on the defensive end. It's not like he was bad offensively. Alright, at number 3, I have Stephen Curry. He averaged 12.8 points per game. He obviously had some bad shooting nights because obviously he's a shooter. He's gonna have bad shooting nights. But he had that 24-point game against Serbia where he was just unstoppable. He had a 4-point play which went in magically. Even the last game against Germany, he went into the paint more, was finishing and won layups. So Steph Curry was the Steph Curry that we know. He was brilliant as usual, but I'm not going to put him any higher because there were a couple players that were better than him. All right, getting down to it, number 2, I have Anthony Edwards. And that obviously leaves LeBron at number 1, which we will talk about. But Anthony Edwards first, he averaged 13 points per game. He really is starting to come to his own and show that he's going to be one of the best players in the league for many years to come. He anchored that second unit a lot with Anthony Davis and Bam, but he a lot of the times had the ball in his hand and was like, Anthony Edwards, go do your thing, go dance on the defender. So I was really excited to see, and he obviously struggled a little bit when he was given that hero ball opportunity. He was still anchoring the team in a way that LeBron did with the first unit. And of course, that leaves LeBron at number 1, King James at number 1. At 39 years old, he is still carrying the team, being the captain of this team, the leader of this team. He averaged 14 points per game, had multiple clutch shots in the last 2 games against South Sudan and Germany. He just took over at many points in the game, was like, I'm not letting Team USA lose. And if he's doing this in the exhibition games, imagine what he's going to be doing in the actual Olympics. Of course, LeBron is at number 1. I don't think anyone would disagree with this. I'm not even biased because I'm not even a huge LeBron fan, but you just have to admire greatness when you see it. And that, my friends, is all 11 players that actually played real minutes for Team USA ranked. If you agreed with me, if you disagreed with me, let me know in the comments below. If you liked this video, leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.